stained glass shape, crafted entirely by hand. The term Tiffany has come to be used as a generic term for any lamp or hanging light fixture with a stained glass shade. This lighting company produces original stained glass lamps, as well as reproductions of renowned Tiffany designs. There's nothing machine-made here. Each and every creation is meticulously handcrafted. The lamp designer first draws a pencil sketch of the shade, then prepares a color rendition. He produces a pattern in the lamp's actual size, and assigns a number to each pattern piece. Then records, by code number, the specific glass they'll use for each piece. Next, they cut into numbered pattern pieces, lay them on the corresponding glass, and trace them with a marker. Using a glass cutter, they score the trace lines and snap them. When a piece is too small to get enough snapping leverage, they grip the glass with special pliers called rotors. Next, they sand smooth the rough edges of the cut pieces, so they won't puncture the adhesive copper foil that goes on next. After wrapping each piece, they crimp the foil tightly, first with their fingers, then with a flat object. This design, like many, incorporates glass jewels. These come from glass suppliers, ready-made. The next step is to coat the foil with flux, a chemical that enables solder to stick. Now, with the soldering iron, they melt tin and lead solder onto the copper foil. Initially, they just tack all the pieces together, completing one section of the shade at a time. Then they lay the sections side by side in a curved plaster mold. This bends them to the correct shape. More flux. Then, with the soldering iron, they tack the sections to each other. Then solder the whole interior. Once that's done, they remove
vai lá. Que isso? Vai lá.
Now they top the shade with a brass cap and solder that on.
Vai lá.
Designs feature dragonflies with brass filigree wings. After soldering the wings in place, it's time for what's called the final beading. A final soldering over the existing solder line to make them even and rounded. Now they wash the shade in an antiquing solution, which dulls the shine of both the solder and the brass cap, giving the lamp shade an aged look. In another department, they install what's called the light cluster, a rod with light sockets and full chain into a lamp base. They fish the power cord up the base and at the top. Then connect the cord to the wires coming from the socket. They tuck in the wiring, apply deadlocking solution, then screw the base closed. For the time being, they attach the finial that goes on top of the shade. And now, a light bulb moment. If everything works perfectly, the tags go on, and the base gets its shade. The bases of original Tiffany's were made of bronze. These, both for tabletop lamps and hanging fixtures, are cast from zinc. The same at a fraction of the price.
Vai. Olha ali. Olha ali. Carregado de diabo, meu.
Aircraft engines have built-in redundancy features, like dual spark plugs and dual ignition systems, so that vital components have a backup. Rising gas prices and eco-awareness are compelling manufacturers to build aircraft engines that are more efficient and less polluting. Aircraft engines are remarkable pieces of engineering. To build a 4-cylinder engine, a worker wraps abrasive tape around what's called a bearing journal on the crankshaft. Using a polishing jack, he polishes the journal to the correct diameter, which he verifies with a digital snap gauge. An operator then oils the journal and attaches a connecting rod. These link the pistons to the crankshaft, which turns to generate power. Then he applies gasket sealant on the edge of the crankcase and silk thread that acts like a gasket. So when the two halves of the crankcase are joined, the engine won't leak oil. He places the camshaft into one side of the crankcase and measures the clearance to make sure it's a tight fit. Then he oils it to ensure there's no friction. They place the crankshaft and rod assembly into the crankcase, then join the two halves together. To prevent the connecting rods from hitting the sides of the housing, they put on what are called torque plates. He adds a little sealant to hold the gasket in place, then attaches an accessory housing, which holds all the gears and hoses that are mounted on the back of the engine.